part of me getting better was me retracing my steps in life and acknowledging that I created this. Because the mainstream health system wants to convince you that you're a victim. And I started experimenting with my own body, treating it like a guinea pig. So I started doing all these cleanses and colon cleanse and this cleanse and saltwater cleanse and the worst things, colon, basically. You're doing a top-down enema. You're flushing the microbiome out of the colon. Like the worst things I could have been doing. I was in Florida at the time, got on an airplane, flew to Ontario, ended up in the hospital. They did a colonoscopy. They're like, oh yeah, your colon looks like hamburger meat. One of the worst cases we've ever seen. I thought my CRP was 80. I just found an old chart. My CRP was over 100. We have no idea what I'm cheeky, you know. We have no idea what caused it. I put this look of stupidity. It's the George Bush face. Are you ready? We have no idea what caused it. You'll live with it for the rest of your life, and it's genetic. Food has nothing to do with it, right? If you constantly fail in health, so these doctors are. Think about this. Imagine taking on a job to help people, and you fail. You don't cure people over and over and over again. Most doctors are going to say, well, that's because we just don't know.
Yeah.
When the answer is no, it's because the data you have is bad. Talking about being fooled, you know, convincing someone they've been fooled. It's way easier for the doctor to tell you that you're a victim. This isn't your fault, son. And people are way more easy. They're way more willing to accept that. And if I eat eggs, if I eat red meat, if I eat even glutens, while you're inflamed, you're just going to further antagonize the situation. It's good, but while you're in a flare, get guidance, because if you make chickpea meatballs while you're in a flare, you're going to make it worse. If you're going to start eating black bean burgers while you're in a flare, you won't make it worse. If I'm going to get better, I have to listen to people who have solved the problem. I can't get advice from you because you have a white coat and you have a little piece of paper on the wall that says went to the University of Western London for medical this. Just because it says gastroenterologist on the wall doesn't mean I'm going to get your advice. Have you solved the problem? You know, I'm not walking around like sappy, like, oh, I'm so grateful for everything. Like, no, but I'm grounded, you know, pretty cool. Like, it's good to be back. So it's feeling, and people just need to know that they'll get back there.
Hello everyone, welcome to another video, and today we have someone's short story to share. This is Corrie. Welcome to the channel, man.
Thanks, man. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm really good, man. And you know, we're really excited to have you on board. Corrie kindly reached out to us, gosh, must have been a few months ago now, talking to, you know, sharing that he'd healed himself from colitis or Crohn's. Which one did you have?
Well, I was originally diagnosed with ulcerative colitis, but you know, after we looked at the symptomology of it and we noticed how fast I lost weight, and then I went in for like another examination. Looks like it's Crohn's, or it was Crohn's. I say was because I don't deal with it anymore. So
yeah, it's gone. It's gone. Yeah, it's out of your life. So
it is.
Yeah, I mean, look, you know, one of the things we like to share on this channel is to give people hope that you don't have to suffer from this for the rest of your life, and you don't have to be on medication for the rest of your life. So what I'd like to do is, you know, let's start sharing your story about how you found out that, you know, this was happening to you and what kind of symptoms did you have before you went to get diagnosed, and etc.
Yeah, I mean, it started, I mean, the official diagnosis was end of December 2018, beginning of 2019. But I mean, symptoms had been there for a while that I had gut issues. You know, there had been a lot of symptomology of that dating all the way back to probably childhood, really, like that I had been dealing with issues and then just making it worse through lifestyle choices, you know. But I was officially diagnosed by the medical system in, I think New Year's Day or December 31st, 2018, January 1st, 2019.
Fantastic. Now, Corrie, before we go into your full story, you know, I'd just like to introduce you to our followers and get you to tell everyone a little bit about what you're about and what you do, because, you know, you do some quite interesting stuff, not in the health field, but, you know, let's just talk a little bit about you and what you do as a, you know, you're quite a successful business person and you know.
Yeah, thanks, man. I appreciate Yeah, so I own two companies. My name's Corrie. Find me online on Corrie George. I own a sales company for a guy named Grant Cardone. So if you go online and you look up Grant Cardone, he's a New York Times best-selling author. He's a billion-dollar businessman. He's been on a TV star. He's been on Discovery Network's Undercover Billionaire. So I work with him, and he's a sales trainer, a management trainer, and we sell his systems and platforms into companies in the US. So we are into Canada. So we train businesses on how to be better salespeople. We train businesses on how they can manage their people better, how to improve their revenues. That's one business that I own and operate. Started it from my condo. Another business that I run, we actually do sales for other companies. So we recognize that there's a lot of sales positions that companies have a hard time filling. So what we did is we said, okay, great. There's this void where these companies can't fill these sales positions. And then there's a whole bunch of positions that young people coming out of school can't get either. So we have a whole bunch of people coming out of school who aren't prepared for the real world. And then there's a whole bunch of these sales positions that are not being filled. So why don't I take the sales positions, repurpose them, turn them into an educational job? So take the sales job, make that the practicum. There's been all of these, there's an apprenticeship if you become like an electrician, right? I mean, what did you go to school for?
I did business school, actually.
Okay, cool. So if you go to school to become an electrician, or you go to school to become a plumber or a welder, or even an engineer, there's an apprenticeship, right? And at the end of it, you know how to be a plumber. Like, you don't call a plumber to your house. He doesn't get there and be like, well, I went to plumbing school, but I don't know how to plumb. But kids come out of business school every day and they don't know anything about running business.
That's true.
No one taught them how to market. No one taught them how to knock on a door. No one taught them how to make a call. So all the valuable aspects, I mean, even how you and I met, like you sold me on you guys, like you guys market, you guys put out a message. They don't teach you in university how to negotiate. They don't teach you how to build relationships. So I'm like, okay, so all these kids coming out of school don't have all these valuable skills that these sales jobs that are empty can teach them. So we built the world's first, it's called Young Entrepreneurs Sales Academy, YESA, YESA, Yes Academy. We teach young kids how to get to yes. And we basically go after sales contracts, and then we educate these young guys, teach them how to speak, how to dress, how to shake hands. Yes, we still shake hands,
Yes.
we teach them, how to negotiate, how to handle objections, how to set their goals. We even teach them a little bit about fitness and health. So that's what I do. I'm a business.
Yeah, and we'll put down in the description there some of your social media stuff, so if people want to find you, they can check it out.
Definitely.
So getting back to your story, you had some digestive issues pretty much from a young age, and how did, because these things generally start to escalate after a certain point, if you understand around how the the toxicity in the body starts to increase over time, and then your symptoms start to escalate, and then it gets to a point where it's like, hello, so tell us about that experience and how you got diagnosed.
So I mean, I had symptoms, and it's funny you say that, like, because part of me getting better, and we'll talk about it later, I'm sure you're going to ask, but part of me getting better was me retracing my steps in life and acknowledging that I created this. Because the mainstream health system wants to convince you that you're a victim. They wanted to convince me that you have no idea how you got this. It's genetic. It's only genetic. It has nothing to do with your actions. And I'm like, well, that makes me a victim, and then I can't fix it. Like, if it's not my fault, it's not my responsibility. And if it's not my responsibility, then I can't change my circumstance. So in order for me to get better, I had to retrace my steps. And I actually made a list. It's a pretty big list. I have it somewhere. I've been moving, so I don't know where everything is right now, but I made a list of everything I did that contributed to poor health. I actually made a list of every way that I had betrayed my body, regardless of people's spiritual beliefs. I believe that I'm like an energy unit, spiritual energy, whatever you want to call it, that occupies the physical body. And I have a contract to take care of this body, and this body's going to take care of me. And I made a list of every way that I had basically created treason against my body. So, it started at a young age with, I ate basically pure sugar from age 9. Like I would throw out my school lunches, and I would basically, I don't know if you have them out there, but like Gushers, Fruit by the Foot, Fruit Roll Up, like these kids snacks that are basically high fructose corn syrup, Joe Louis, cookies, everything, you know. And that was my breakfast and my lunch. I would eat Fruit Loops. Do you guys have Fruit Loops in Australia?
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
Fruit Loops
Horrible
for
things.
breakfast. Fruit Loops for breakfast, which is corn and sugar,
Yeah.
you know, with milk, and or waffles, which were Eggos. Do you guys have Eggos down there? I don't know how different they're like a toaster waffles, but they're basically just
Right.
corn and wheat product, and then I would cover it with fake maple syrup. That was my breakfast every day for 12 years of my life. You know?
Yeah, so plenty of sugar, plenty of refined sugar, and plenty of fat. Yeah.
Yeah. So I know you're asking me how I got diagnosed. I didn't get diagnosed, or I didn't actually have a real problem, like a life-changing problem, until I was 29 years old. But in retracing all my steps, then I started having like gut pain when I'm like, you know, 12, 13 years old, and we're going to naturopaths and stuff. And luckily my parents were smart enough to take me to a naturopath. Meanwhile, I'm like not telling them that I'm eating sugar every day, like ridiculous amounts of sugar. So that was how it started. And then in my teen years, you know, I got prescribed something called Accutane. You know what Accutane is? It's an acne drug.
Acne
I had really bad acne, so there's some like minor scar tissue on my cheeks, a couple spots on my forehead, and Accutane actually got sued recently, like 5 years ago, class action lawsuit for causing Crohn's and colitis, because the pills are such a strong, I guess, antibiotic, vitamin A based derived antibiotic, which is weird if you think about it. And it kills the microbiome. So it disrupts the bacteria balance of the intestinal tract drastically. So they got sued. I missed out on that class action lawsuit. So it's not like I got any money from them. Not that it matters, but that was another thing. And then partying, man. Like alcohol, I became I was binge drinking through my teens, drugs, like popping pills, all that stuff's disruptors to the biochemistry. So yeah, that's kind of how I looked at it. And then I went all natural. I quit hard drugs when I was 20 years old, cold turkey. Then I'm like, I detox. And I started experimenting with my own body, treating it like a guinea pig. So I started doing all these cleanses and colon cleanse and this cleanse and saltwater cleanse. And the worst things, colon, basically. You're doing a top-down enema. You're flushing the microbiome out of the colon. Like the worst things I could have been doing. Drinking salt water. I don't know if you ever heard of that saltwater cleanse. You drink like a glass of salt water and it just goes through you. And it was just really bad stuff. I mean, and then the IBS started. So the IBS started in early 20s, just gas, but never discomfort. So it never bugged me. It just bugged other people. I mean, but never bugged me, so I would just have gas, burping. And then, then it got really bad. I started exercising and training December of 2018. I had taken off a month off work. And I was like down doing a spiritual retreat, like working on myself, pounding food, like hitting the system, like trying to put on weight. And, I thought I got E. coli because I started getting like diarrhea and stuff. And me being an idiot, and I fully acknowledge this, me being an idiot, decided, it's probably E. coli. I'm going to like do a massive dose of vitamin C, and I'm going to do a massive dose of oil of oregano. Worst thing for an inflamed colon, like two of the worst things you can do for an inflamed colon. And I'm taking magnesium supplements. So that's how it started. And then I went to a doctor, and he was a natural doctor, didn't do any tests. And I believe it, you guys will get into it, love the natural doctor thing, but go to a medical doctor for your testing.
Oh yeah.
and then build a panel of advisors, kind of like you're running if this was a sports car, right? I got my engine guy, I got my transmission guy, I got my suspension guy, I got my tire guy. I would build, I would do the analysis with mainstream medicine. I would do the colonoscopy, even though it's pretty invasive. I would do stool tests. I would do, all blood tests. I would check my inflammation markers, through mainstream medicine.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
once I have the data, once I have the scoreboard, right, here's where we're at, then I would use, my plant-based food coach. Then I would use my chiropractor to help calm the immune system down through the nervous system. Then you know what I'm saying? But I didn't do that. I went to a chiro, natural doctor. He prescribed me a parasite cleanse.
Right.
And that destroyed me. I took the parasite cleanse when my colon was already inflamed. And within 3 days, I was going to the bathroom 25 times a day, bleeding. I was in Florida at the time, got on an airplane, flew to Ontario, ended up in the hospital. They did a colonoscopy. They're like, oh yeah, your colon looks like hamburger meat. One of the worst cases we've ever seen. I thought my CRP was 80. I just found an old chart. My CRP was over 100, which is pretty crazy. I mean, CRP for people who are listening is C-reactive protein. It's an inflammation marker. And if you're at like 4, you probably have some inflammation you should probably look at. You might have IBS. You might have an infected tooth, So 0 to 4 is that range of health. I was at 100.
Yeah.
So pretty crazy. And then, I spent 4 days in the hospital, juicing, not eating the food. And doctor comes in. He's like, you're not eating. He's like, you're losing weight. I'm like, well, my colon's ulcerated. Why would I put food through it right now? Well, food has nothing to do with it. And they're bringing me cornflakes. They're bringing cornflakes. They're bringing muffins. They're bringing like, those fruit cups that you like peel the plastic off the top, and it's like, like fruit in syrup.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at these doctors. They're fat. They're out of shape. I mean, sorry if I'm being offensive, but this fucking guy, pardon my language, he's fat and he's out of shape. Why is he here to tell me about digestive health? Look at him. Skin's pale. He looks tired, So I don't know if I answered your question. Was that's how I got diagnosed, and that's basically how I created the sickness,
Yeah, you definitely answered the question, and you're right there. You don't go to the doctor to learn how to be healthy. They're not there to teach you. They don't learn it. If you want to learn about the science of health, you need to go and see someone who's learned how to help the body become healthy. You go to as you said, you go to the doctor for emergencies. You go to the doctor for tests. You go to the doctor if there's a specific need for a short-term medication. But you don't go to the doctor to get healthy, because you're not going to get healthy following the doctor's advice. No,
emergency management. They're like firefighters, right? Now, if I wasn't so stubborn, I was too natural, like if when I was inflamed the first time, I had simply gone to a doctor and said, hey, give me a dose of prednisone for the next 6 weeks. Short term, I got a healthy liver. I've got healthy kidneys. Give me the prednisone. Let's get the inflammation under control. Let me correct the diet. Taper off the prednisone. Do a detox, a natural detox by sweating and exercise and healthy foods. That would have been way better, but I was too stubborn. Like, I'm not taking drugs. No, drugs are a means to an end. They are short term, your body's in danger type situation. So in hindsight, I would have done that differently. I ended up having to take steroids because your CRPs, your inflammation markers are, 100x where they should be. You should definitely take what you need to take to get that in check.
Yeah, absolutely. And okay, so following that, now you've found out that you've got IBD, and it's obviously never a nice feeling to learn about that, is it? And then you get told that, okay, as you said, food has nothing to do with it, and you got this for the rest of your life, and you're going to take these anti-inflammatory.
We have no idea what I'm cheeky, we have no idea what caused it. I put this look of stupidity. It's the George Bush face. Are you ready? We have no idea what caused it. You'll live with it for the rest of your life, and it's genetic. Food has nothing to do with it. And it's just funny because in my mind already, I've been preaching for years, because I'm a college dropout. Okay. I built, my first sales business with a company that we grew to, $20 million in 3 years. I was a college dropout. I joined, I brag a little bit, but just for some edification for your audience, I joined the 6-figure club when I was 22, 23. I joined top 1% of income earners when I was 25, no degree, no education. So I realized like, and I was fit and healthier than most people I knew. I'm like, hey, like, I don't listen to most people. I don't do what the masses do, and I'm doing way better. So, you know, and because I've studied, not because I'm special, because I study the 1%, right? And that's my new podcast that we just released called School of the 1%. So I'm in the hospital and I already know, I'm like, these doctors don't know what they're talking about. This was not the incident where I'm like, I don't trust doctors. Like, I already don't trust doctors. Like, I'm like, you're indoctrinated. Not that your ethics are bad, but you know, people, you got blinders on. It's parochial, meaning parochial is a very narrow-minded viewpoint. It comes from the word parish, right? People only looked at what their church told them to. You know, so these doctors are educated in the religion of big pharma. You know, the pharmaceutical interests have infiltrated our universities, and they fund studies, and they purposely omit studies from medical libraries that are contrary to their financial interests. And I'm a pretty sane guy. I don't wear a tinfoil hat. I'm not, you know, hanging out in the basement. Like, you know, I live pretty well and I've done pretty well. I like to do this thing called thinking. And basically what it is I'll look at a situation, then I'll make up my own mind. And what I realized is that our doctors, not that they think they're lying to you, they don't, but there's two things, if I can share. Two things that cause a narrow-minded viewpoint. One is all of your data, you trust one source, and that source has covert interests that they haven't displayed to you. The other thing is repeated failure will create a narrow-minded viewpoint. So if you constantly fail with money, then you'll make up stories and reach for information that validate why you're failing with money, right? If you constantly fail in health, so these doctors are, think about it this, imagine taking on a job to help people and you fail. You don't cure people over and over and over again. Most doctors are going to say, well, that's because we just don't know.
Yeah.
When the answer is no, it's because the data you have is bad. So my rule is who do you listen to? Yeah, I mean, that's it, right? It's not about a conspiracy. I mean, it's called planning. If I'm a business owner and I want to create salespeople, I'd start at the schools. If I could infiltrate the schools, that's the academy for my future salespeople.
Absolutely.
Doctors are salespeople. Great. I'm going to get into the schools so that 10 years down the road, they're relying on an education that I helped design. Right?
And the food industry does that too. You know, they get into schools, they teach people that, you know, you need to have milk for bones, you need to have meat for iron. They all go into the schools. They develop the curriculum along with the government. You know, food industry does it, pharmaceutical industry does it. If you've got enough money, you can reach audiences from all sorts of areas. You know, they go into the nutritionist in a food industry. They go into the nutritionists and the dietitians, and they teach them what they want them to learn. And
dietitians are my favorite. Dietitians, whenever I see someone with a dietitian, I'm like, all right. They're like, yeah, and you know, it's covered by your government benefits. And it's like, yeah, that's because you don't know shit. You know, I mean, most times it's generality, but there's a wing, a branch in the University of Guelph, which is a school in Ontario, Canada. And it's called the Monsanto wing. It's actually a wing that was funded by Monsanto. And I'm pretty certain they educate the kids there on chemicals in agriculture. Do you think for a moment that they were teaching those kids that glyphosate was carcinogenic? You know, they just got found guilty of that, right? So, yeah, I mean, what people need to understand, and that was a big wake-up call for me too. And I know it's not quite the nature of this call, but I climbed pretty high on the pyramid, if you will, at a young age. I'm in the boardrooms with 50, 60-year-old men worth hundreds of millions of dollars. They're negotiating big deals. This was just in the telecom space. And I'm like, these guys have access to information the public doesn't. They make, you know, the regulatory authorities for telecom, they're all connected with the telecom companies. So I saw that with my own eyes. Like literally the big telcos, you know, you guys have them down there. The people regulating them were connected with them. Like friends, associates, family members. ex-executives from the telcos end up on the board of the regulatory authorities. Same thing for the Food and Drug Administration. The Food and Drug Administration and the USDA are made up of a lot of ex-executives from the industry. Now, these aren't people that saw the light and all of a sudden wanted to go punish their friends at the chemical companies. No, they're guys who made their money and now are going to go and sway the regulatory authorities to benefit their buddies over at the drug companies. So I've seen this firsthand, not on that side. I saw it in telecom. It's pretty interesting that most people, when you talk like this, they say, "Oh, you're a conspiracy theorist." I'm like, "No, actually, I'm a businessman, and I understand how business works. You know, science is not infallible. Science can be purchased."
Yeah, absolutely.
You know? I don't know. I don't want to go down too far down a rabbit hole.
I mean, it's important that people hear this kind of stuff because it's hard to, you know, Mark Twain once said it's easier to fool someone than to convince them that they've been fooled, you know, and we were all the same, weren't we? Like we all grew up thinking we needed to drink lots of cow's milk and we need to eat meat and, you know, we needed protein for big muscles and all this kind of stuff. And then you find out that none of that's actually true. And you're designed to eat plants and
you need to eat your servings of meat every day. You need to have your whole wheat toast, you know, as your grains. And I'm actually not an anti-gluten guy. I don't have an issue with gluten. I can eat gluten fine. I don't eat wheat specifically because it's been modified so much that even organic wheat tends to, you know, I just stay away from wheat for the most part, unless it's, you know, occasionally I'll have some like nice high-end bread, but I don't eat wheat. And we got hammered with this stuff, you know, like just indoctrinated with it. So what does this have to do with being sick? Well, getting healthy, talking about being fooled, you know, convincing someone they've been fooled. It's way easier for the doctor to tell you that you're a victim. This isn't your fault, son. And people are way more easy. They're way more willing to accept that.
They're way more open to that because, you know, like you're way more happy to accept that it wasn't my fault. You know, I got sick and, you know, if it's not your fault, you're like, oh, well, you know, it's just bad luck. But if someone says, actually, it's you who did that, then the walls start coming up, you know, the defenses start coming up. You're like, how dare, you know, what do you mean? You know, so it's actually, until you accept that, you know, your health is under your control, you're going to struggle with your health, I think.
100%. Where it happened for me is, so I left the hospital against medical recommendation. I checked myself out. I'm like, if I'm going to heal from this thing, and I was in Ontario at the time, which is eastern side of Canada. Okay. So above New York. And I live in Vancouver, western side. So it's kind of like going from New York to Los Angeles, just to give everybody, kind of like going from Sydney to Perth. Okay. So I live in Perth, let's say, but I'm actually in Sydney at the moment. I'm like, I need to get home. Now I'm bleeding internally. And I'm going to risk getting on an airplane and flying across the country. So we end up doing that. I like muscle it together. I'm going home. And my parents lived in Toronto, which is like on the east side. And they're like, no, you should stay until you're better. I'm like, I'm not getting better. I'm getting worse. And what I realized, the reason I was getting worse is because my parents were in fear. The household was in fear because they're literally watching me go from a jack show, 175 pounds, 10% body fat. They're watching me go from that to a stick, right? So here, like I'll show you, right? They're watching me go from this to that. So they're watching me dwindle away. So they're in fear. And, you know, the big part of healing was I need to get the biochemistry correct. And you hear a lot about it's about the mind. It's all about the mind. And it is. But the mind dictates glandular function. Right? So what are my adrenal glands doing? What is my thyroid gland doing? Right? Endocrine system. What's going on there? If I'm high cortisol, if I'm high adrenaline, then my digestive system, I'm not healing. It's not, you know, it's sympathetic versus parasympathetic. I'm not in.
You need to get to that you need to get to that parasympathetic mode. You need to get to that. You know, if you're in fight or flight, it's very hard to heal. If you're scared, if you're anxious, if there's fear inside you, you need to actually shift that and believe in yourself and really calm your body and say, I've got this, and allow it to do what it needs to do.
Exactly. So I'm I'm in this situation. I've checked myself out of the hospital. So remember, I'm in Florida. I fly up to Toronto, or I guess I'm over here for you. I don't know. Am I mirrored or no?
Yeah.
I guess I'm not.
I don't know. It
I'm
doesn't
in
matter.
Florida. I'm in
Yeah.
Florida. I fly to Toronto. I end up in the hospital
Yeah.
there. After
Yeah.
10 days, I can't take it. I'm like, I'm out of here. Like,
Yeah.
I'm in an interpolating environment. I'm hearing beep, beep, you know, code yellow, nurse to room 6, you know, like I'm hearing all the noise of a hospital, sickness factory. I'm like, okay, hospital, not the place to be. They're not helping me. So I'm like, give me the steroids give me some steroids. I'll leave. I left. I go back to my parents' house, very stressed household because they're watching their son wither away. So I'm like, hey, wrong environment. Like I need to be in a peaceful, positive, uplifting environment. So I get on an airplane. My brother flies from Vancouver to Toronto. Okay. To fly me back. Like I'm with my fiance, but I'm like, Matt, I call him. I'm like, yo, I'm not getting any better. I need to get back to Vancouver. I need you to come here, pick me up. We'll fly back to Vancouver. So a lot of emotion wrapped up in that. So I'm just going to skip that whole part of the story, but I end up having like some kind of attack on the airplane. They had to put me on oxygen, look at the airplane's altitude and to get me into Vancouver. But and in Vancouver, I go back to my condo at the time, delete Instagram, like just delete apps, delete Instagram, delete Facebook, delete all access to news. We make a stack of movies, low stress, positive, uplifting, funny movies to watch. Movies like Ice Age, Toy Story, like kids movies, like stuff that was like fun, you know? Movies that aren't high cortisol, violence, and death. We make music lists. I start doing breathing exercises. I start doing mental training exercises. I'm 110 pounds at this point. I've lost 60 pounds. I'm 5'11", 5'10" and a half. So I'm down to 110 pounds. Everyone, when they see me, they're like, you know, it don't look good. And I got nurses who are my friends bringing IVs just for me to hydrate over to my house. And then I basically just, we did cabbage juice. I don't know if you know about that remedy, which is high glutamine. So we're cabbage juice, and it gets rid of some of the sulfur. Can't remember.
Yeah, I mean, there's some benefits for cabbage juice. It's not like the benefit is that it's, you know, you're not putting things in your body that shouldn't be there. You know, you're putting plant nutrients into your body. You know, you can get benefits from lots of different plant juices. You know, cabbage, celery. Yeah. So one thing about cabbage, I want to warn people. One thing about cabbage is that because it's quite a sharp flavor, it's quite a sharp kind of food. Some people don't always do really well on it. Some people do amazingly well on it. Not everyone does. So you've got to be careful. Like I normally tell people, if you want to put a bit of cabbage into your juice, start with like 1 or half a leaf.
Everything has to be a gradient. I agree. Yeah. So let me get to that too, because that's a good point. We did everything on a gradient. So we didn't just say, hey, I'm going to eat the whole cabbage and drink that. Like, no, like we even factored in the amount of juice. So in the beginning, it was like 4 to 6 ounces of cabbage, carrot, and apple mixed together. And we slowly introduced everything. Like everything was about the gradient. Everything was about step by step, like little incremental things.
You know what?
And
why don't we talk about when you found out about the fact that, you know, a plant-based diet was going to be good for you?
Yeah. So I when I checked myself, that's a good question. When I checked myself out of the hospital, I had this client of mine. He's also my friend. His wife had real Crohn's disease, where she had to get like blood infusions on a monthly basis. That's how bad it was. She had healed that with this plant-based gradient style diet, where basically they made it stages of different types of food that she ate. She's like, Corrie, she's like, you need a plant-based diet you need to rebuild your microbiome. But before you can eat that, you need to eat food that's going to not make the inflammation worse. And if I eat eggs, if I eat red meat, if I eat even glutens, while you're inflamed, you're just going to further antagonize the situation. Take a wound on your arm and rub it with steak. You know, like what's going to, you're going to get an infection, man. Like that's not a good idea. You're feeding the wrong bacteria, you know? So she's like, She's like, I can help you. She's like, I've been through just as bad, if not worse than you are. Basically what we're gonna do is we're gonna start with these low inflammatory fruits and cooked veggies that you can eat that won't make wounds worse, that will allow your colon to heal. And then they're not going to basically open the wounds again. And everything was cooked a certain way. So, I'm not going to say, hey, everybody, like, you're in a flare, like, go eat only plant-based. Like, yeah, you should eat plant-based. Some plant-based foods while you're in a flare that you should eat, and there's some that you should.
You need to have guidance. If you're not sure what, if you know what you're doing, that's awesome, but if you're not sure what you're doing, you need to get some form of guidance. You need to talk to someone who's done it before. It doesn't have to be us, man. Like, it can be anybody that that you see that's done it before. But, people who, like, we've seen more than 500 people go through this journey, so we know what's okay, what's not okay, like, okay, this is an okay level of detoxification symptoms. No, this is too much. You need to get some medical attention, and you need to be aware of that. You need to be aware of where the line is. And if you don't know where that is, you can get in trouble real fast, because it's a very serious condition. And,
it is.
Like, you did some things that I wouldn't normally recommend people do, like, when, desperation. Sham did the same thing, right? He stopped taking the medication in the hospital against the doctor's advice. I would never recommend anyone do that, because that's dangerous, right? You admitted yourself out of hospital against the doctor's advice, but that's something that you felt you had to do at the time, and nothing could have changed that, and that's not something that most people should do. But in that situation, you just knew you had to get out of there.
I'm not a doctor. Put the fine print at the bottom. Here, I actually have another book too. There's a book called Fiber Fueled, and that helped me as well. Once I had healed, though, like, that diet is good, but while you're in a flare, get guidance, because if you make chickpea meatballs while you're in a flare, you're gonna make it worse. If you're gonna start eating black bean burgers while you're in a flare, you won't make it worse. Like, there's and don't get me started on all this. There's so much misinformation around a plant-based diet. People are like, oh, you can't eat lectins. I'm like, I can eat lectins. What are you talking about? Like, I have a microbiome that can break down plant matter. I cook it correctly. Like, I don't have bloating.
In fact, lectins, there's hundreds of thousands of studies that show that lectins are beneficial against cancer. So actually, lectins are good for you, unless you're going to eat raw beans, and nobody eats that. So this whole thing around lectins is around raw beans, and I've actually got to, make a video about lectins shortly. So you might want to stay tuned for that one. But
because you see this doctor, and I don't even want to give him any advertising by mentioning him, and then he's selling enzymes to break it down. It's like, okay, dude, like, can you guys not see the financial aspects of this, and how many people has he cured? So if we can talk about that real quick, the rule to handling it. So first of all, I looked at Crohn's and colitis like an injury. I wasn't going to identify it. I never went to people like, I have Crohn's disease. Like, cut out my swearing. I'm just going to say, fuck that. Like, no, I'm not going to say I'm a Crohn's disease survivor. Like, no, I'm not going to identify it. I'm not going to own it. I injured my intestinal tract. Was I genetically prone to certain antigenicity, reactiveness to certain foods without knowing it? Yes. Okay. Okay. Definitely some genetic, some DNA predisposition to, having some allergies and some reactions to certain foods that I didn't know I had reactions to, like dairy was one of them. Okay. But to tell me that, like, yeah, you're a victim, I can't deal with that. So I don't want to lose my school of thought here, but my main point was, like, if I'm going to get better, I have to listen to people who've solved the problem. I can't get advice from you because you have a white coat and you have a little piece of paper on the wall that says went to the University Western London for medical this. Just because it says gastroenterologist on the wall doesn't mean I'm going to get your advice. Have you solved the problem? How many people have you cured? Go ahead. Dr. Bob, this guy who's talking about lectins, him too. How many people have you cured of the illness? Well, I haven't cured any. Okay, so Not going to take your fucking advice. Pardon my language. Not going to take your advice, dude. Like, you didn't cure this. You've never got, I'm trying to play basketball. Okay, I want to win an NBA championship. How many NBA rings do you have? Well, I don't have any. Okay, got it. Okay, how many okay, fine. Maybe you haven't got rings, but maybe you know the fundamentals. How many baskets have you gotten from the free throw line? What's your percentage? It's 0. Okay, that's okay. We'll still give this guy the benefit of the doubt. How many layups have you shot? 0. Okay, so you have never cured this illness at all. So therefore, I can't take your advice. That's it. I mean, it's that simple. If you want to create a reality, you have to contact people who have that reality and learn how they constructed it.
There's 2 things with this, okay? The one is that, have you got the results to back up what you're saying? Okay, that's basically what you're saying, right? Can you back up what you're saying with results? Have you been able to replicate that not only with yourself, but with hundreds of people?
That's right.
Right? The second thing is, can you provide evidence to show that your advice has some scientific backing? Okay, so this is what we do, right? It's about, can we replicate what we did with Shamiz with hundreds of other people? Yes. Okay, can we show you the evidence that shows that a plant-based diet is the best diet to eat for your health, for your microbiome, for longevity? Yes, we can do that. So you put those 2 things together, and then the experience.
It has your science. Well, science is really simple. It's, if you actually remember what science was in school, it's let's conduct an experiment, and then let's measure the results. Can we duplicate this? That's science. Now, what people think is science is, I went on the government of Canada's website and they have a scientific, they have a doctor who says this. Like, dude, that's not science. There is no science behind a piece of cloth over my face is going to protect me from any pathogens. Like, this is not going to protect me, and that's what I'm saying with the drug industry. Is what they do is they do something called controlled science. And what that is, they'll do a certain amount of studies and they're looking for specific outcomes. And as soon as they get like 3 of those outcomes, they might have done the test a certain amount of times. As soon as they get 3 outcomes, they're like, look, we had this sample study, 3 out of 5, that 5, meanwhile, there was 50, 3 out of 5 here saw improvement with this drug. Let's get it out. Science now, not the science we're talking about with real, studies, observations, experiments. When people say science and medical studies, that's about as trustworthy as a politician, in my opinion, because like, the scientific studies say that, this drug is safe. Yeah, well, this politician told me that he was going to lower my taxes, got it on video too, right? So people just don't understand that science can be bought and paid for just as easily as a politician can. A scientist is a human being. Lab results can be swayed, and it helps to know that when you're trying to heal yourself, that planet Earth, and I know it sounds cynical, and you can correct this, but it's my perspective. Planet Earth is not an honest place. People buy, companies and corporations change data, and you have to be aware of that when you're looking at information and taking in data. So I do what you do. Do you have the results? Period. And the result that I want, not like, you're improved now. They, with this new drug, they can, like, no, without drugs, can they go back to their normal life? Well, no. Okay. Not the result I want.
Absolutely. Yeah. So you implemented some of those things. You looked at, the mind, you looked at real, like, interesting you say, planet Earth is not a positive place. And I think you're one of these people that focuses on what you want, so honest. It's, you know what I mean? You can tell, like, people who are successful, they understand the law of attraction. And it's something that I really focus in on, right? When you know what you want, you have this laser focus that this is it. There's no other option for me. I'm going to get it. And there's no like doubt that I'm going to get it. There's no chance, what if it doesn't work for me? There's nothing like that in your head. It's just like, boom, this is what I want. This is what I'm going to get it. Okay.
Go ahead, continue.
Yeah. So, you focused in on all the positive positivity in the mind, focusing on this is what I want. I want to heal. I want to get better. And then you look at people that have got, your friend had the same results that you wanted, so you followed some of the advice. And it's very similar, like slowly, go to a simple plant-based diet, and then as you get better, you introduce more food into your bowels, right? To increase the plant diversity in your body. And
exactly like that pretty much explains it.
yeah. And you also basically understood that these are the things mentally and physically. You need to rest, you need to get away from negative energy, you need to get away from, you got to really focus on being positive, you got to eat a healthy diet, you got to focus on rest, sleep, exercise. There's 5 things we talk about: food, water, sleep, exercise, and mental state. If you can get those 5 pillars of health in your favor, then you're going to be healthy. You may not be healthy right now, but if you keep focusing on those 5 things, you're going to be healthy in the long term. Okay. Yeah. So how did the recovery go? Like, talk about the recovery.
Talk about the recovery too. And I want to say the law of attraction piece is important, because the reason that doesn't work for people in unsuspecting is some of the most dangerous people in your surroundings are the people that tell you they love you, that they want to protect you from being disappointed. So you have to understand that just because you have faith. So when I was really sick, I'm like, this is temporary. Like, it's temporary. I don't believe in disease. Like I told him, I don't believe in that. Doctor's like, well, whether or not you believe it. I'm like, no, you're not listening, dude. I don't believe in this, period. I don't. So I went to this gastroenterologist, and he tried telling me, he's like, and you could see in their eyes, like they want to convince you. He's like, you've never been this sick, have you? He's literally like, you've never been this sick, have you? It's pretty scary.
Yeah.
What are you getting at, bro? Like, what do you get? You trying to manipulate me?
Yeah. No. Where's the solutions, man? Where's the solutions? How are you going to solve my problem? I don't want you to hear all the fear. I want to hear the how you're going to get me better.
Exactly. Because what they're trying to do, they're like, well, I just don't want you to be disappointed. I want you to be cautiously optimistic. And it's like, no. Like I had this reality in my mind that I was going to go back to my life. I was going to be jacked. I was going to be able to go out to restaurants again. I was going to be able to travel. I was going to be able to entertain my woman, because I couldn't do that for a long time. Okay. I wanted to be able to get back to everything I wanted to get back to. And I didn't let anything interfere with that reality. Nothing. Now, when somebody came into my environment and they started casting doubt, whether on purpose or not, I had to identify that. Like if somebody would come into because people want to be right around you. So they're like, well, I just want to let you know, my cousin has Crohn's. That's how I'm like, yo, dude, I don't have Crohn's. I have an injured, you're not listening to me. Remember how I said that earlier? I'm like, it's an injured colon, bro. I'm not identifying with that. I have an injured intestinal tract. I'm leaking endotoxins from cell permeability into my abdomen, my bloodstream, and my immune system is attacking that with TNF alpha, with a bunch of killer cells. And I need to handle that. It's an injury. But I don't need to hear about how your cousin has Crohn's. Like, dude, stop trying to push your reality on me. So people want to create this law of attraction, but then they're too nice. I'm just gonna be real. I'm kind of an asshole. So I just tell people to piss off. People were trying to introduce their reality to me all the time, and I don't need to keep an open mind. That's a big thing. When you're sick, you should teach this to your people. I know I use it with my salespeople. An open mind on planet Earth is a liability. Like you and I want people to have open minds. I have a rule. I have an open mind with the 1%, and I have a closed mind with the 99%. Because the 99% don't have health, 99% don't have money, 99% don't have time freedom, 99% don't solve major illnesses, 1% do. So I'm going to have a nice open mindset with the 1% with the results, and I'm going to have a closed mind with everybody else. And when I did that, then manifesting, creating, because now I'm not, I'm hanging out with a cousin, and they're blood, they're family. They're trying to cast doubt. I just don't listen. It's like, oh, I'm nice, I'm pleasant. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. In one ear, out the other. So for the mindset piece, a big part for me was like understanding who my friends were. And my friends were people who were helping me get towards my goals and how me reinstill a reality I want to create. Not people who are playing devil's advocate, not people who are trying to get me to come to terms with reality. My friends, I choose my friends around my goals. I don't pick my goals for my friends. I pick my goal, and then I pick my team. This is how I built multi-million-dollar companies. I pick my team based on people who believe we can get to that goal and have the skills to get me there. I don't pick my friends and then let them influence what I believe. I pick my goal, and then I say, who's down to go here? Who's down for me to be healthy and healed? Who believes that? Okay, you do. Great. You don't. You have a fundamental belief that I can't heal. Okay, well, I'll see you next year when I'm better and we can have a beer. But I'm not going to talk to you anymore. And that's how I do it, man. I'm real selective. It sounds cold, but it's like I could try being nice to everybody and entertaining people, including my family out. I fired 2 cousins out of my life because every time I talk to them, it's doubt, fear, insecurity, and I'm like, gone.
Yeah,
Anyway,
you got to do it.
But I mean, maybe your viewers need to
No,
hear.
I think this is important stuff to you need to. In a way, you've got to be. If you want to help other people, you need to be selfish in a way. Because if you don't look after yourself, you're gonna not. Like imagine how can you help anyone if you're sick, right? So if you're sick and you want to help others, first you got to get better. And the only way you're going to do that is you focus on you and you get better and you do everything in your power to get better. Once you're better, you got energy, you got your life back, you can do things. Then you can focus on helping other people. But 100%. If you haven't got yourself right, if you don't love yourself, if you don't believe in yourself, if you haven't got all your stuff sorted within yourself, it doesn't matter what other people do because you're not going to be in the zone to help others. You've got to really get yourself right first.
You're going to be introverted. You're going to be worried about the bowel movement. You're going to be worried about this pain that you have in your gut instead of listening to the other person. I mean, that's a big piece, man. You self victory before peer victory. If you're drowning, you can't help others swim. Pretty simple. So exactly. That was the big piece, man. It's like I picked my people, and even people who love me, if they were in fear, I waited until I was better to see them again. Because I couldn't. I had my own fear, man. I was fighting my own battle. I don't.
Yeah, of course.
Fear.
You don't need extra.
I don't need any extra. Thank you. I got enough of it. So that was a big part of healing, and then like rebuilding the microbiome. So I basically ate non-antagonistic food, which that was a whole discipline piece too. Like the discipline of eating the right food was the hardest thing I've ever done because we meet with food. Like you turn on the TV and you see that you watch movies, they're eating, they're drinking, they're having a coffee. You watch someone on the street and they're like having a cup of coffee and you're like, oh, I can't have that. And what really helped me with that is I just said, I'm injured. Like if I had a broken leg, that's the difference, right? People have a broken leg. They don't get all, oh, I have a disease for the rest of my life. Their mind doesn't go, all right, I'm just waiting for my leg to heal. Then I can go play soccer.
Yeah.
Well, for the food thing, it's like, well,
they don't actually, like they understand that while the leg is broken, they can't play soccer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's pretty obvious, and they're not like feeling all like, there may be a little bit of victim. Oh, I wish I could play soccer, but they like understand why they can't. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, no, I can't play soccer because I can't run. So if your gut's injured, as you say, it's a really good point because even we try and tell people, don't identify. You don't have Crohn's, you're just healing.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't have colitis, you're actually healing yourself. And there's something we talk about as well because once you identify with it, it becomes part of you, and it doesn't need to be. And then you got to break up with it. It takes time. Once it's part of your identity, you actually have to divorce yourself from that. You've got to break yourself up from it, and that's hard because some people
they're on forums, man. I went on forums. I'm like reading.
Oh man, that's shocking. Yeah, it's shocking.
A bunch of people like identifying with their illness. They're like, I have Crohn's, I have this, I have that, and it's just like, and I'm not judging. It's just like that's not the way to handle it, man. Like I wouldn't go to a forum, and I wouldn't go to a forum and talk about how I'm broke. I wouldn't go on a web form, like, yeah, I have no money. I have, and they have in the little signature, you know, when you go to a forum, like I'm part of a lot of car forums. I'm part of the car community quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And like you write what car you have and the modification of each car.
Mm-hmm.
Well, guys are like, I'm on this drug, I'm on this, and their signature, Crohn's disease, diagnosed this date. I'm like, you know, it's like if I had no money, I wouldn't go in a forum like I'mBroke.com and like, you know, you wouldn't share like, oh, I have this much debt on my credit card. You're talking to people who are also broke. They're not going to help you. So if you're sick, all you're doing is talking to other sick people. What are you learning? You know, I have a saying, and House League cannot teach House League how to make the major leagues. Now, if you guys have House League sports down there, like, you know, when you're a kid?
I know what you mean though. It's like the lower divisions, right? It's the
lower division.
Yeah.
Well, it's the lowest division. House League is it's like your local cities, and they just play against each other. They might even sneak a beer in while they're on the bench. You know, like it's beer league. It's beer league. And those people don't teach each other. You know, if I'm on the bench, beer league baseball, House League soccer, beside another House League soccer player, he's a center and I'm a center. I'm not gonna be like, hey man, like how do I make FIFA? How do I make you know, make Man U? Like it's just not gonna happen. I have to go and first of all pay some money too. That's the other thing. Pay some money. Like I spent money to learn this stuff. It's like, well, like you for free. Well, listen, dude, whatever you did, you tell that to your drug companies? Did you tell that to your doctors? Because he's getting paid, you know?
Yeah.
Pay money. Like I invested money, you know, like invest money for lessons, invest money for the data, invest money for the coaching, invest money for the food. Cost money.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's you know, some of these things can be very expensive. I mean, but it doesn't have to be. I mean, I don't know if you know how much our program costs, but it's $1,000 for 6 months, and you get better. You know,
man, that's easy. I like that. That's a good deal. But people don't realize
it's a really good
right?
deal. Yeah.
Would you rather people spend that at the bar before they got sick?
Yeah.
They spend $100 in a weekend, you know, go Thursday night, Friday night, there's a couple $100 and they in 1 month they spend $1,000 at the bar. You know, and
or you don't buy an iPhone for a year. You focus on healing your gut instead.
Yeah. No, it's wild. People's priorities are a little bit messed up when it comes to that stuff. You know, you have to make investments in yourself. It will always pay off. You know, and then here's the other thing that I talk about mindset. You know, before we end off or whatever questions you have to have a purpose other than just getting healthy. So for me, my purpose was I need to help people. Like I need to turn this into a success story so that I can help people, you know, and I can't just be selfish of like, I just want to get better just for me. Like, no, I want to get better for obviously, but I also want to get better so that I can make a difference. I want to make better, you know, get better so my community better so that I can create jobs. Like I'm a job creator. That's what I do. I create income and jobs for people. Like if I croak now, you know, who am I helping?
Yeah.
So purpose of mine, I'm like, I'm going to come back bigger and better than ever. I'm going to help people. And I'm going to turn my struggle into a story for other people to get better.
Yeah, it's motivation, right? Inspiration. That's what we're all about. That's why we love to share these stories because, you know, if you go to the forums, you'll just hear tales of sorrow. We want to share tales of, you know, success, and success breeds success. You know that. If you want to be successful, go and see people who are successful. Don't go and see people who are not successful or failing at what they're trying to achieve. You know?
Agreed. Applies for everything. Applies to everything. Money, business, health, relationships. So many people get relationship advice from their parents, and they're like, "I'm like, do you want to have your mom and dad's relationship? No. Okay, so probably don't advice. You know, couple that actually, you know, behind the scenes is pretty strong. Like, find out what they're doing. So, same thing for the body. You know, find successful people, build a panel of advisors that aren't conflicting. Like, once you picked your path, pick your path. Like, don't be like, oh. And sometimes your body has to reset. Like I noticed I probably did it wrong. Like I went a little ham on the cabbage juice and whatnot. And like antagonized things because I went at it too steep, you know? but I stuck to it. And guess what? And not the cabbage juice, just the plant-based thing, right? Like,
Yeah.
You have to, be willing to stick it out,
Yeah.
like,
You know what my brother said? My brother always says is being persistent will get you there, and then being consistent will keep you there.
Yeah, 100%. I've already violated that. So I've gone up and down before last year. And all I can say is healing the gut. Let's say it takes, and I know everybody's different. And I helped accelerate that with some other stuff that I did. But healing the gut, let's say it takes 3 to 6 months to just heal the lining enough where you have some resilience to the lining, right? But rebuilding the microbiome, that's a year for me. I know it's at least a year.
But it's also something that you got to keep working at,
constantly.
Because if you, it's that consistency, what you do 95% of the time, that's what gets you and keeps you healthy. If you're willing to do that when you're healing, and then you're only going to do 50% after you heal, you're going to get sick again.
Yeah,
you got to keep that. You got to keep it.
Agreed, man.
All right, so just to finish off, man, I know you've given lots of advice, so we don't need to talk about advice. I think it's been really inspirational. I think a lot of people will take some, hopefully they'll take some, some truth out of this, because there's a lot of truth in what you said. But just talk about quickly, what it feels like to be healed. Just kind of, you've been to like the depths, like you've gone to like 20 something times, like you've gone lots of dark places. Just talk about, what it feels like once you've been there and now you're not.
I'll be real, there are some blessings. So we found out in December, so our business got shut down in March. We reopened in September. I laid off 40 people in March. Started the business back up in September. I have 2 companies. This is one of the companies. Started back up in September with 8 people. Grew it back to 16, but big, like we doubled the production per head. So it was almost like we had 30 people. Like we were just killing it. They shut us down again on Boxing Day. Laid everybody off again. That business is like a $4 million company. Gone. Before Christmas, and I, my executive team's kind of crestfallen, meaning they're like, their chest is caved in. They're all upset, emotional. I walk into the office. I'm like, for the last 4 months, did we do everything we could do? Yeah. Did we kill it? Did we have good profitability? Yeah. Are we in the best possible position we could be to handle this news? Yeah. All right. Then this doesn't seem like a problem. This is just an inconvenience. I'll give you a problem. Shitting blood, pardon my language, for 3 months straight, that is a problem. This is an inconvenience, man. So what it really did is it put a lot in perspective. Now there's still little things that I sweat, my own emotional baggage that I got around.
Human, man. Everyone's human.
Neatness. You want to annoy me? Put me in a cluttered environment. I don't like it. But when it comes to news, good and bad, now I look at things and I'm like, hey, like put it in perspective. Because while I was sick and we were having business challenges, I'm like, those challenges, honestly, if I could just get better, I wouldn't even care about those business challenges. So now I'm better and I have those business challenges and I'm like, whatever, like we'll figure it out. Now it really puts things in perspective. The other thing is the amount of people that reach out to me and they're like, hey, you inspired me. Hey, like, I have this, I have that. What can I do? And I'll point them in the right direction. But it's like you've been every time you solve your own problem, you've created a solution for someone else. Absolutely. So it feels good, man. It put life in perspective. It gives you an appreciation. I'm not walking around like sappy, like, oh, I'm so grateful for everything. Like, no, but I'm grounded, like, pretty cool. Like, it's good to be back. So it's, and people just need to know that they'll get back there.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's fantastic, man. Look, I really appreciate you taking the time out to share. Yeah, you got the smoothie. Nice.
Blended spinach and some what is it? Milled flaxseed, mango, berry, all blended up together.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
If you're healing, don't put the flaxseed in, but once you're healed, not a problem.
yeah, I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah, so yeah, no, man, that's awesome. And yeah, it's cool to see, like, there's people out there that, didn't work with us and they still went to plant-based diet and they healed their bodies, and you obviously, I think you did see some videos and things when you were healing about our program and stuff like that. So I think it's cool that we were able
I
to.
watched some of your stuff. I actually, after this call, I'm probably going to ask you for a few tips. I know that you're, someone that I should listen to. I mean, to be real, I'm gonna compare notes. Like, that's what I'm saying. When you look at the best athletes, like universal truths are universal truths. Michael Jordan got trained by a guy named Homer for his fitness. So did Kobe Bryant. So did Dwayne Wade. Kobe Bryant went to Michael Jordan. He said, "Yo, what can you teach me?" So I'm gonna go to you, and I'm gonna say, "Hey, like, let's say you're Michael and I'm Kobe or whatever." I mean, that's a very high compliment. Both of us.
That's a huge compliment. Yeah.
I'm nowhere near that, actually. Right? I'm a junior. I'm an NCAA player. I'm nowhere near in the major leagues. So I'm gonna yo, how do I make the major leagues? So after this call, I'll get advice from you, and if I need to pay you for it, I'll pay you for it. Like, that's the other thing you understand. It's like, invest in yourself. Like, you're the number one asset. Correct the microbiome. You get sharper.
Yeah.
Emotionally balance out. You're less alert to your girlfriend when you're hungry. You're more level-headed. You can produce more money at work. You have more energy. You have a better sex life. Like, so giving you $1,000, if that's what you're I might actually hire you for the full 6 months. Giving you money my girl's going to benefit from it. My company's going to benefit from it. My customers are going to benefit from it. My community's going to benefit from it. I should give it to you.
Yeah.
So there you go. Easy sale for you. Let's go.
Yeah. So, absolutely. I think it's such an important, follow the people who have the success, and that one, I'm going to use that 1% rule. That's something I've learned today. I knew about it, but I didn't really think about it in the same way that you've explained it to me. So, and yeah, you can say that, like, I can quite confidently say we're one of the 1%. Like, if you look at all the people that have colitis and Crohn's, and the people that come to us, they heal. They're one of the 1% that heal at the moment. We don't want that to be the case. We want that to be much more than the 1%. But right now, that's what it is. So I think I think people who watch this video, I think, why I really wanted to get you on is, we want to share stories of people who are successful in many different ways, but also healing their body, but also you've had success in different areas of your life, which I think people can really learn from. And most of the people that watch this channel are very young, and they're just, in their early 20s, and they're trying to figure out what they're doing in life and everything like that. So, if you can learn something from what Corrie's just told you about how to focus to get what you want, I think that's going to help you a lot. Okay. But I really, it's been a long video, but I think it's really important that we've talked about some very interesting things here. And if you've got this far, thanks for watching. And we really appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, thanks, man. I appreciate you having me here. I appreciate what you guys are doing for the health community, what you're doing for the planet, and you're creating ripples. Like, how many people have you helped that are now helping others that you don't even hear about?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah, it's all about the ripple effect, and good job, man. Appreciate the ripples that you guys are creating.
No, thank you. I appreciate you, and appreciate you taking the time to share your story. Now, guys, if you watch this video and you liked it, give it a thumbs up. And if you want to see more videos like this, subscribe to the YouTube channel, click on the little bell icon to get notified of all our recent uploads. And if you have any questions, there's a comment section down there. Ask away, and we'll try and answer them as best as we can. And until next time, eat plants and lots of them. Take care. Give this video a thumbs up if you know what it's like to live with IBD, and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. This channel is designed to help people recover from colitis, Crohn's, and any other form of IBD.
You can always head to our website, highcarbhealth.com, for a free 30-minute consultation from anywhere in the world. And remember, there is a life after colitis.